Okay guys, what we're going to talk about today is whether or not a water gun is a valuable addition to a dog trainer's toolbox. Okay, what got me thinking about this is my assistant, she went training last week and she came back telling me about some people using some water guns and spray bottles and stuff, and I didn't really like what she was saying, so I figured I'd make a video about it just to get my opinion out there. If you're going to ask me whether or not a water gun can be a good training tool, I'm going to always answer the same thing. The answer is 100%, unequivocally, maybe. Okay, and when I say maybe, this is what I mean. Some dogs, if you give them a little squirt with a water gun, it freaks them out. They don't even know what it is. They're like, oh my God, what happened? Why did I get squirted? Whatever led to me getting squirted, I'll never do it again. Okay, now that happens. It happens sometimes. It happens more often than you would think, to be honest with you. But let me tell you what happens a whole lot is you squirt the dog and they go, huh, what was that? They don't think anything about it. Or sometimes you give them a squirt and they're like, ooh, wow, do that again. They lick it, you know. Okay, so my answer on whether a water gun is a good tool for a dog trainer kind of rests on what's your dog's reaction to it. This is an empirical problem. You need to get the water gun out and test it. If when you're using a water gun, if the dog seems to dislike it, wow, it's going to work perfectly. Okay, now we're talking about plain tap water here. Where I think people get off track is sometimes they want to go way out of their way to force a tool to work, right? And so what my assistant was telling me about was people had some water guns and they were putting lemon juice and vinegar and some other random irritants in these water guns to punish their dogs with these water guns. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute, what? That's crazy. There's no point in that. There's too many tools in the dog training world to be trying to use some kind of caustic solution to irritate your dog's mouth or its eye. That's silly, you know? Look, some of the dogs, you squirt them and they're gonna feel like it's real negative. Some of them are gonna be indifferent and some of them are gonna like it. If you have a dog that's indifferent or even likes it, listen, just move on, get a different tool. Do not put an irritant in a water gun and spray it in your dog's face. It's not gonna get you anything. Okay, it's never going to get you anything. It's super ineffective. It's not going to work in the long run. You might get some short-term results out of it, but you're not going to get what you want. You're not going to get what high-level training is offering you. You know, if you worked at an office and I saw you talking to a customer and you didn't do it like I wanted you to, and I walked over and I squirted some lemon juice in your eye, do you think you would be nicer to the next customer? Do you think you'd be better at doing that paperwork while you got one eye open and the other eye's watering? No, you wouldn't like it. You wouldn't do well. And the effects of it are too long lasting. Dog might do a little something wrong, like jump up, and you squirt it with this irritant that gets in its mouth and gets in its eye. Well, hell, that still hurts 5 minutes later. Okay, that breaks a fundamental rule of dog training. With dog training, you have to make associations. Punishment doesn't work in dog training in the traditional sense of you did something earlier, so I'm going to do something to make you uncomfortable for a long period of time. Hey, it doesn't work, okay? So don't do it. But, now listen, hey, if you are the kind of person that has the dog, or if you're a person that has the kind of dog that doesn't like a water gun, then listen, if you will get your tactical process right, you can really bring a water gun into play, and that's what this video is primarily about. A little bit, it's about, hey, listen, if your dog doesn't have an adverse reaction to a water gun and some tap water, skip this technique. It doesn't work for you. Do not put lemon juice in it. Don't put vinegar in it, okay? Don't do it. But if you're lucky, and you got dogs jumping up a little bit or getting into something it's not supposed to, and that dog has an adverse reaction to being squirted with a water gun, hey, listen, it's a pretty effective training tool, and I'm going to go ahead and show you how to use it right now. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about how to properly employ the use of a tactical water gun as it relates to dog training principles, right? First things first, okay? If I'm going into a situation where I feel like I might need a water gun, I'm gonna take two. Two is one is none. Because these water guns, primarily being manufactured in China, those standards of those non-union workers, they ain't that high, you know? So the failure rate on these Chinese-made water guns pretty high. So remember that first rule. If you go into a situation where you're anticipating using a water gun, you take two, because two is one and one is none. All right. Second thing, how are you going to carry this water gun in such a way as it's going to be able to be presented in a tactically efficient manner? You got two basic choices. You have inside the waistband and you have outside the waistband. I prefer to carry one in each position, right? So if I'm in a bind and I get surprised a little bit, I can reach down, pull up this fancy Nordic comp shirt, bam, present my water gun, get it into action really quickly, really effectively, focusing on the front sight. The dog that's misbehaving is just a blur in the background, okay? Now, if I'm in a situation where I anticipate having to bring my water gun into play numerous times, I want to go with a full-framed water gun, and sometimes they won't fit inside the waistband because I'm not that big a fella. So in my treat pouches, the kind of treat pouches that I use, I have a separate compartment that allows me to carry a full-framed water gun, and I can bring it into play and present it very quickly, very effectively, and I have much more capacity than the small-framed water gun that I carry inside the waistband, okay? So on a busy day like today, I've got 30 dogs here training. I got a long water gun over there on the table, because in reality, if you're gonna get in a water gun fight, you just use your small water gun to get to the long water gun. So, 2 is 1, 1 is none. 1 inside the waistband, 1 full framed in your treat pouch, a long gun within just a few steps in case things get real bad. All right, now, third thing, you gotta remember, if a behavior is bad enough to warrant shooting them with the water gun, it's bad enough to warrant shooting them twice. Water's cheap, guys. You want to make sure that you get some rounds on target here. And so when you bring your water gun into play, you keep firing until that behavior is neutralized. Rule number 4, only hits count. All right, this is very important. It's often overlooked. Everybody wants to go out and get them a water gun. I see them at the water gun store all the time. The latest, fanciest water gun with the lights, built-in bipods, drum magazines, whatever they're getting, okay? But what I don't see them at the range. I don't see them living the lifestyle, okay? I want you to have your water gun. I want you to be putting that water gun into play every day. I want you to be maintaining that proper stance and front sight focus, okay? I cannot stress to you enough, when you bring this water gun into play, only hits are gonna count. Right? That dog's misbehaving, that dog's doing something that's dangerous or destructive or rude, and you're missing them with the water gun, gonna have no effect. So every day, get your little stance work. Every day, get your little dry firing. Every day, work on that front side alignment. Okay guys, second to last rule as it pertains to using a water gun to end misbehavior is you gotta get your water gun into play, and you got to take your fight to that misbehavior. Drive right to it. You got to get right to the heart of the matter and get that misbehavior stopped right now. Don't be afraid. Don't run. Don't find cover, right? You go to the misbehavior and you eliminate it right now so you don't have to fool with it in the future. You have to make the dog understand that this water gun is going to be employed to eliminate destructive or dangerous or rude behavior, and you'll never hesitate when the stakes are that high. So the last rule in using a water gun to eliminate misbehavior is, don't forget, once you get your water gun into play a couple of times, the misbehavior is probably going to go away. Now it's time for you to reward the absence of that misbehavior. Anytime that you're using correction in dog training, okay, what you're doing is you're using the correction to cause a temporary absence of a misbehavior, then you come in with reward to fill up that void with a behavior that's more appropriate for the situation, right? So, no doubt, I'm not a pansy. Listen, if I have to bring the water gun into play, listen, I'm gonna bring the water gun into play. I'm not gonna allow my dog to do something dangerous, destructive, or rude, but I don't want a relationship built on me telling a dog what they can't do. I don't want a relationship built on violence. I want a relationship built on mutually beneficial exchanges of behavior. So the dog jumps up, yeah, I might have to draw down, okay? But if he doesn't jump up, you can bet your butt I'm gonna give him a nice treat, right? And so the thing is, use your water gun, use it judiciously, use it effectively, and you will not have to use it much. And that's the same with every kind of correction, guys. Discipline is a paradox. If you're willing to discipline, you do not have to discipline. It's that simple, right? I run a dog kennel where I've got 30, 35 dogs running around loose all the time. And the reality is, yes, they do know that I'll fuss at them if I have to. But what they're really running around for most of the time is seeking my approval. Dogs and women, they crave discipline, guys. So you got to give it to them. You got to get them lined out, right? And so that's our jobs. We're going to provide discipline, and we're going to provide structure, and we're never going to correct where we don't lay out a way for the dog to be rewarded, okay? As long as we do that, everything's a super simple process. It's time to put these water guns to the test and see just how effective they are. So we're going to do some scenario training. In scenario training, you put the dogs in situations where they can misbehave. If they misbehave, they get corrected. If they don't misbehave, they get rewarded. So basically, I'm going to set up some situations and I'm going to ask a dog 2 simple questions. Do you want to blaster or do you want to treat? Right? That's it. Do you want to blaster or do you want to treat? You want to get blasted or you want to get treated? Do the misbehavior, you get blasted. Do the good behavior, you get rewarded. See how simple that is? Very binary concept. Black and white. And dogs love black and white. Okay, so first thing we're going to do, we're going to work on a trash can. So now when you're laying any kind of trap, I know there's a lot of trappers that watch my channel. They probably ain't going to have to tell y'all, but for you non-trappers out there, if you're going to make you a trap, you got to bait the trap. So I'm going to take a little bit of meat and I'm going to stick in this trash can and I'm going to strategically place this trash can in an ambush spot, and I'm just going to wait here for one of these dogs to wander up here and get itself in trouble. See if they go to get it. Now. Bam, 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 bam. Remember, ammo's cheap, guys. You have to drive them off of that trap, right? Now, we'll see if they go back up there again. Now, see, I was pretty lucky that time. I was able to get my water pistol into play, and I was able to get some rounds downrange and on target, so I'm feeling pretty good about that dog not getting back up there and fooling with that trash can. One of the places where I find a water gun to be especially useful is in defending my doorways. You know, I've got a lot of dogs here every day, and I've got a lot of little kids and a lot of old people coming. And if you've ever managed a dog kennel or you've ever managed a multi-dog household, you know how hard it can be to keep the dogs from rushing the door. Well, I can't have the dogs knocking into people as they're coming in and out of the door because I have tile floors and I have to mop those tile floors a lot every day. So I can't have dogs crashing into old people and old people crashing into the tile floor. You know, I just can't accept that level of liability. So I love to set me up an ambush point. So I'm going to look at that door like it's my defensive perimeter. And every so often I'm going to open that door. And if those dogs try to come in uninvited, if they try to crash my perimeter, then I'm going to bring massive firepower to bear and I'm going to blast them right out of the doorway. Now, if they stay on the other side of the door, I'm going to reward them. And after they've been patient for a while, I'm going to ask them to come in. All right? Over here, I'm going to open up the door and I'm going to ask the dogs, do they want the blaster or do they want the treat? All right, this one wants the blaster, that one wants the blaster, that one wants the blaster. Okay, now, they started to decide they don't want the blaster anymore, so they're kind of hanging out there. Well, there's the treat. So they get the blaster for rushing the door, and they get the treat for waiting. Blaster or the treat. What do you want? Simple dichotomy, binary system. Good behavior gets good results. Bad behavior gets blasted with the water gun. Super simple, super effective with just plain old tap water, guys. You see all these dogs, and a pig out there, and I'm keeping them at bay with just tap water. Do not be putting lemon juice or vinegar in your water gun. If you have to do that, it's the wrong technique for your particular dog. Blaster or the treats? What do you want? Next thing you know, you got dogs that are real polite at the door.
Charlotte.
My science class was really fun.
Science was really fun?
Yeah.
Charlotte read a book about llama llama. Get the dogs! Get the dogs! Wait till they come up on you.
Stop it! Stop! Dogs!
They're coming! Oh, they're breaking through! Breaking through the ranks! Dude, you're a kid. Through our shields!
Down!
Oh! Vader! Vader incoming! Don't the bird.
Charlotte?
Where'd Charlie go?
I wanna shoot.